Howdy. I'll have y'all know that I have tried to film this 3 times in a row now, and every time I hit play, Leia starts going crazy, or I get a text or a phone call. Today is very exciting because it is the first day of the Mafia Romance Readathon. And I decided to participate this year. I don't read a ton of Mafia romance at all. I think I've only read like 3 Mafia romances total. But during my romance reading journey, I've, discovered that I really do prefer darker elements in my romance novels. I think a lot of my 5-star rated books and my 6-star all-time favorite books, they all have dark or taboo type elements. And yeah, I wanted to join this year. So I decided to pick 4 books. And also, y'all, I finally got Kindle Unlimited. I've been missing out this whole time. Okay, so this Kindle actually belongs to my partner. He got this for D&D, but then he never uses it, and it's been sitting in a box for like a whole year or something crazy. And I was like, why don't I get Kindle Unlimited? There's so many reading possibilities now. I'm like a changed woman. But yeah, so I picked 4 books for the Readathon, and all of them are on Kindle Unlimited. If you see me looking down, it's because I'm looking at my list. So my TBR includes Ruthless Stranger by Maggie Cole, A Bullet Between Us by Kay Dolsel, Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Geissinger, and Savage Lover by Sophie Lark. Yeah, I just picked those 4. All 4 of those I have seen people rant and rave about. They seem to be favorites with a lot of people. The person who introduced me to Mafia romance was actually Jen from the Book Refuge, and I know that she really enjoys these books, so I'm trusting her judgment on them. I'm so sorry for Leia, y'all. You're the worst. All you do is go outside and you snarl and you scream a lot, and then you come inside and you snarl in my face and you snort all over me. But yeah, I'm going to link the host in the description below. Also, one of the cool things about this readathon is that instead of having a set list of prompts that you have to adhere to, you can actually build your own bingo board. And they provided a pretty long list of different things that you could choose from. So I, of course, built my bingo board based on the books that I'm reading, because that just makes sense, obviously. So the bingo prompts that I chose were Next in a Series, New to You Author, Follow the Host, Italian Mafia, Tattooed Hero, Recommended by a Host, Bratva Mafia, Irish Mafia, and Outsider to the Mafia. So yeah, basically out of the 4 books that I chose, 3 of them I've never read anything by the authors before. The only book that I kind of have an idea of what's going on is Savage Lover by Sophie Lark, and that's because I've read the first 2 books in the series. This is called the Brutal Birthright series. Sophie Lark is huge right now. She's really blowing up. I remember watching some smaller channels talk about her books, I want to say only a year and a half or 2 years ago, and now she's really successful, and it's kind of cool to see. But yeah, I enjoy her writing, so I'm excited to read this book. This is the 3rd book in the series. But yeah, I am going to try and physically read these books, except this weekend I am really busy, so I'm most likely going to have to actually buy some audiobooks of these books, or else there's just no way I'm going to be able to read them. This weekend is Mother's Day and I have to leave town on Sunday, so yeah. But I did start Ruthless Stranger by Maggie Cole. I'm only 24% in, and Y'all, this one is super intriguing. It is super spicy. Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, it's so fun so far. So basically, this follows our heroine. Her name's Aspen, and she just finalized her divorce. Based on what I've read so far, it sounds like her husband was a POS, and she's having to pay, I think, like an alimony for like 10% of her salary or something crazy. I don't know. But basically, she finalized her divorce, and her best friends take her to Vegas. They do like a little surprise trip for her, and they're basically just trying to like celebrate her being free from, that awful man. And they're kind of trying to, get her to they're trying to get her to like hook up with somebody, like have a good time, test the waters, if you know what I'm saying. And Aspen, while they're sitting at a bar, she openly admits where she's like, look, I'm 38 years old. I'm not a cougar. I don't want these young men. I really want like somebody that's around my age or older. And my ideal situation is that I would be blindfolded. I want him to be really nice and dominant. And I don't want there to be names or faces exchanged. And I just want to have a good time. And luckily for her, this man named Maxim, who is near the bar where they are sitting, overhears it. Now, Maxim has ties to the Mafia. He's Russian. And I'm kind of confused on this because they just like briefly mentioned it and I'm only, 20% in. But I think it's like, he's from Chicago, and the Russian and Irish Mafia are kind of like they formed an alliance because Maxim is in Las Vegas because his brother is getting married. And so they're having like a bachelor party. And one of the men that's there with them is like a good friend of his, and he's like with the Irish Mafia. So yeah, there's a Irish and Mafia representation in this, I guess. And yeah, Maxim's with the Mafia, but I can't remember exactly like what he does. But yeah, he overhears this conversation and he sees Aspen and he's like, holy shit, she's beautiful. I would totally do that. And yeah, he basically pulls aside her friends and he's like, look, I'm gonna prove to you that I'm not like a creep. I would love to make love to your friend and like follow her rules, let her have a fun night. I'm really attracted to her. And her friends agree, and they set up this like wild night with, Aspen and Maxim. I keep forgetting his name, so I keep having to like look over. But yeah, it was very spicy. At first I wasn't gonna like be super at first I thought I wasn't going to be super intrigued by that because I normally don't care for like insta lust type scenarios, but their attraction to one another is so good. Even though Aspen can't see his face, like she's just so drawn to him, and he is obsessed with her. Like, this is definitely more than just lust driven. I think he literally tells her, like, don't tell me your name. If you tell me your name, I'm gonna hunt you down and I'm gonna make you mine. And he openly admits to her that he's kind of a dangerous man and he doesn't want to drag her into his lifestyle. So that's why he's like, don't tell me your name. I'm already obsessed with you. I don't want to track you down. And yeah, they decide to have another night together. And then they part ways. And yeah. They're both basically regretting that they didn't exchange names. But yeah, that's it. That's all I know so far. I really like this writing style. I'm so invested in this couple. But yeah, I'm only like 20% in, but I'm definitely going to read more tonight, and I will check back in with you guys later. might sound a little congested. I'm having super bad allergies, and I woke up, I think I woke up around 6:30 a.m. today, and it's like 8:30, and I realized that I forgot to take some medication. And so I was like, why am I starting to feel sick? And that's why. But yeah, I look super rough right now. I didn't even say what day it is. It's Saturday. I didn't check in yesterday. But yeah, I finished a book. I finished Ruthless Stranger by Maggie Cole. And it was so good. I gave it a 4.5 stars. But I, like on Kindle Unlimited, I rated it 5, so I just, rounded it up. But yeah, it was super good. It is already Saturday, and I've only read one book for the Readathon, which isn't the best, I guess. But I'm having fun anyway. But yeah, I rated the book 4.5 star. It was super good. So basically, yeah, once Maxim and Aspen split ways in Las Vegas, they both go back to Chicago, which neither one of them knew, obviously, that they were both from Chicago. And the reason why I give it 4.5 stars is because some of the like Mafia elements I was kind of confused about, like that part of the plot. And I think I don't even think it's because of Maggie Cole's writing. I think it's just because I have 2 brain cells and can't comprehend what's going on. But basically, Aspen has, like, her job has something to do with, like, property zoning or property management or something like that. And so she's going to meet a client with her boss, and that client is actually Maxim. And she is immediately hit with like his smell. She describes his smell as being like cardamom and bergamot. And whenever she hears his voice, she just immediately knows. And she's like, oh my God, that's the mystery man from Vegas that I had those 2 amazing nights with. And I think it's been like a month since they've like went to Vegas. And that entire time, both Maxim and Aspen have been pining for each other, and were filled with so much regret because they didn't get each other's name, and they're like, oh, I'm never going to see that person again. But then whenever they see each other in this meeting, Aspen's like so nervous, and she accidentally spills like some coffee on Maxim and herself, and Maxim is like, oh, we'll just go to the bathroom really quick. And the heat is immediate. They just immediately are like hands all over each other. And he's like, oh my God, my croissantka. It's so swooty. And yeah, it was so good. The pacing of this book, I was kind of confused too, because it felt like everything was happening super fast. Like I felt like a bunch of shit happened within the span of a couple days. And so I was like, whoa, this is really intense. But yeah, basically things really escalate, and Maxim and Aspen are like, look, this must be fate. If we reunited, we could not stop thinking about each other. But Maxim is also like, I don't want her to like be involved with my mafia lifestyle, but I can't stay away from this woman. I'm obsessed with her. There's lots of like kind of spooky stuff going on in the plot too. So Aspen's ex-husband, he starts doing nefarious things like breaking into her home and stealing things. And of course, Maxim, that doesn't fly with him. And then of course there's also the other actual mafia plot, that it's like the Italian mafia and the Polish mafia are kind of starting to butt heads with... Okay, this is something I forgot to mention. I didn't realize that this book was like an outsider to the mafia. So this book actually hits a ton of tropes on my bingo board. Like I haven't double checked, but I'm pretty sure most of my bingo board is like filled up now. But yeah, so it's like I'm counting this book as Bratva Mafia, but like technically Maxim and his brothers, they're not they're not with the Russian mafia, but they're their own thing. Basically, it's like a really like tragic thing, but Maxim and his brothers, they were kind of forced into doing things for the like OG Russian mafia, but they were like it's almost like they were bought into it. And one of the brothers, I can't remember who it was, but they like I don't know if it was like so many years before or whatever, but he won a lot of money while gambling, so he was able to pay off some of the brothers besides himself. So I think I want to say it was Dmitri. Dmitri's the brother that still has to leave and like do dirty work for the Russian mafia, but the other ones they've been bought out. But since they're so like powerful and have all these connections, they're almost like mafia themselves, you know? But yeah, so outsider to the mafia trope, that was crazy. But yeah, it was so good. But yeah, I gave it a 4.5 stars because for one, some of the mafia stuff just confused me. I don't even think that's Maggie Cole's fault. That's just my brain. And then the pacing did feel kind of fast. Like I couldn't tell if these things were happening within the span of like a week or if it was like several weeks. So I was like, wow, that's really dramatic, you know? But yeah, super good, super steamy. So if you love really steamy romance, definitely check this out. I would say that it's kind of light on the mafia, but parts of the book were pretty dark. So like, I would say there's trigger warnings for like torture and violence. And this is like the hero and other like characters that are doing the torturing. So, but yeah, I mean, this is mafia romance. These are morally great characters. We all know this. But yeah, I enjoyed it. But I need to get a move on. I need to get a lot of reading done, which means I'm going to have to buy some audiobooks. Because I'm pretty sure I mentioned this earlier, but I can't really read a lot on Sunday because it's Mother's Day and me and my partner have to drive out, I think like an hour away to go visit my mom. And yeah, and we have to do that pretty early. So yeah, I'm going to get some audiobooks. Today is kind of busy for me. I really need to clean our house. Our house is filthy. It's springtime, so the animals are shedding. It's disgusting. I gotta fix it. And then I really need to do my nails today because they're nasty. But yeah, so the next book I'm going to start is Savage Lover by Sophie Lark. I'm going to listen to this on audio. I listened to Brutal Prince, the first book in this series, on audio, and I really enjoyed it. And then I physically read Stolen Air. So far, since I only read the first two books, Stolen Air is still my favorite. That one's really good. I don't know much about what Savage Lover is about. I have heard a lot of people talk about it, and a lot of people say like they like the book, but it's not their favorite in the series. I think it's supposed to be kind of maybe slow compared to the other ones. I don't know. But I think this one is about the brother named Nero. Nero is with the Italian Mafia. His sister married into the Irish Mafia in the first book, so they're all like allies now. And then I think it's his romance with someone that doesn't have anything to do with Mafia. But that's all I know about. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I need to post my review on Bookstagram. I need to check out some other people's posts because I haven't even been looking at Bookstagram lately. I need to get myself together. I'm not feeling that great today. I'm like nauseous and I'm so phlegmy because of my stupid allergy. Sorry if that's TMI. It just is what it is. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm probably gonna check back in with you guys throughout the day as I'm reading because I gotta get a move on. Okay, see you in a minute. Wow, look, I'm wearing something other than a t-shirt. Yeah, it's Sunday. It's the last day for the Mafia Romance Readathon. It's still pretty early in the morning. I think it's almost 10 a.m. But I have to end it because today we're actually going to go visit my mom and she lives like an hour away. So yeah, that's also why I'm kind of dressed fancier instead of wearing the same clothes that you guys always see. But yeah, so I didn't check back in with you guys yesterday. I did do my nails. They're super cute. I don't know if it'll focus, but they're basically just like little angel nails with like French tips and a little bow. It's not gonna focus. It's fine. Anyway, yeah. So I finished 2 more books. So I read 3 out of the 4 books that I had planned to read. And I think that's great. I'm really proud of myself. 3 books is standard for me. But considering that I really, only had 2 to 3 days for reading, I think I did pretty good. So I did finish Savage Lover by Sophie Lark yesterday. I never explained what this was about. So basically, this is the 3rd book in the Brutal Birthright series. And this is about Nero, who is with the Italian Mafia. He's like one of the brothers in that family. So he's made like appearances in the past books. And it's his story between him and our heroine named Camille. Now, Camille, she's really down on her luck. She grew up in poverty, and it's just her father and then her half-brother who was basically abandoned to them whenever he was really, really young. And Camille is basically the one that's holding their family together. Her and her father, they own like an auto parts shop, so they're like mechanics. But during this book, her father gets really, really sick, and so he hasn't been able to work very often. And Camille is having to like undercharge people frequently because they don't get a lot of customers. She's also basically had to raise her little brother. I think she's like 25 or 26 or something, and her brother's 17, so he's still in high school. She's basically had to been the one to like raise her brother and be his mother figure. And he's currently in kind of some trouble. Basically, he's been dealing drugs on the side, and Camille gets really angry whenever she realizes that he's actually out probably partying and not doing what he said that he's supposed to do. So she goes to pick him up. And at this party, she runs into like a lot of her old high school bullies. Everybody's like really mean to her. They used to call her like gross names because she was poor or whatever. And Nero is actually at this party, and they run into each other. They have like this little interaction, and Nero just kind of is like, because it's like he knows of her because they went to the same high school, but he never really paid attention to her, and he's starting to get like a little intrigued by her. But basically at this party, Camille picks her little brother up, and turns out Camille finds some Molly, like MDA drugs, on him, and they get pulled over by a cop. And Camille, not wanting her brother to get in trouble since he's so close to 18 and she's trying to encourage him to like do really well in school because he's super smart, she takes the blame for it. However, instead of the cop arresting her, he ends up blackmailing her. I can't remember the cop's name, but he's only like a little bit older than her. And he basically blackmails her to be like an informant. I don't really know what the term's called. I can't remember. But basically he's asking her, since she knows these people that are involved in a lot of like underground crime stuff, like drug dealing and whatnot, he's basically blackmailing her into hanging around with these people more and giving him information instead of like arresting her like he should. So on top of everything else, now Camille is having to deal with that. And then also, in order to get close to who her brother was drug dealing with, that drug dealer makes her take over her brother's position. So now it's like layers and layers of all these like really stressful things for our heroine. I felt so bad for her. However, she's like a really strong character. I mean, she's going crazy on the inside, but she's trying to hold it together. And yeah, Nero basically just kind of gets sucked into these situations with her, and then it's their romance. And then, of course, things happen since Nero is with the Italian Mafia, and things kind of blow up and go from there. I gave this book a 3.5 star. I enjoyed it, but it's not my favorite out of the series so far. I gave it a 3.5 star because I don't know if you can tell based on how I was describing this book, but Camille and Nero, they're not actually together very often. Like, I feel like it takes like halfway through the book for us to actually see them together more often. This book is very heavy on the actual mafia elements, which like I enjoy, but the romance aspect of the book kind of fell flat for me. It was still really like a really fun read. There's like really cool like car chase scenes in this book. But yeah, it was okay. It's not my favorite in the series, but I still enjoyed reading it. Again, since this is mafia romance, there's a lot of triggers in this. I definitely can say that substance abuse is a major trigger, and also forced drug use. I don't consider that a spoiler because it is such like a triggering thing for some people, I imagine. There is forced drug use in this book. However, and it's towards the heroine. The heroine doesn't have a bad experience because of the drugs. Like, nothing really bad happens to her. And in fact, it's kind of like a pleasant experience. If y'all read this, y'all know what I'm alluding to. Like, you'll figure it out. But yeah, just know that those triggers are in there. So yeah, I finished that. And then this morning, I finished Ruthless Creatures by J.T. Geisinger. And yes, I read 2 books that both have Ruthless in the title. So I was super looking forward to reading this book. A lot of people love this series. I think this series is pretty long. There's like 10 books in it. And I think the last book just recently came out, like a couple months or this month or something crazy like that. But yeah, I finished that today. And what's weird is that elements of this book really reminded me of Ruthless Stranger by Maggie Cole. And I listened to this on audio too. The narration was super good, except I felt like the male voice was, I don't know, his voice acting is so good. He actually speaks Russian in the book, and I was like, okay. But he sounded too old in my opinion. Like, I think the character's supposed to be like in his early to mid 30s, and he kind of sounded like he should have been older. Anyway, I'm not even explaining what this book's about. So basically this follows our heroine Natalie. Natalie's been having a rough time during the start of this book because I think it was like 5 years previously, her fiance went missing like a day before their wedding. And since it's been 5 years, he's basically presumed to be dead legally. And Natalie has been like completely devastated by this for many years. She's tried dating and nothing really works for her. A major trigger in this book is suicidal ideation. The heroine's very like open about it. Like, she just very casually mentions it out there. So if anybody's struggling with that, I do not recommend reading this book because it's like kind of hard to like hear her inner thoughts about that. But yeah, so basically it's just her and her best friend named Salone, who I loved. I'm pretty sure she has a book in this series that's like about her. She's with her friend Salone, and she's, she just broke up with her last boyfriend, or he broke up with her or something, and she doesn't really care because she's like, yeah, whatever, I'm just, dating to try and fill something. And while her and her friend are at this bar, or was it a restaurant? I don't remember. Really, while her and her friend are at this bar, she notices this man staring at them, and specifically at her. He looks very dangerous and spooky, like he could be like a motorcycler or something. And her friend basically like kind of casually flirt with him, and he's very disinterested. Like, he just straight up like tells her like, no, not interested. And so she's like, oh, okay, whatever. But Nat quickly finds out that that man recently became her next door neighbor, and he's starting to make himself pretty known to her. And yeah, since this is a Mafia book, he's with the Mafia. I don't know how to explain this book because I have to be careful with how I explain it because I could, accidentally spoil it. But basically, yeah, the man's name is Cage, and he has come to town basically for a reason having to do with Natalie. But from the moment that Cage sees Natalie, he is completely enamored with her, and he immediately becomes obsessed with her. And, you know, he came there for a specific reason, and he decides, okay, I'm not gonna do that anymore. I want to make this woman mine because I cannot stop thinking about her. And yeah, this book is so steamy. This book is steamier, in my opinion, than Ruthless Stranger. It's super steamy. If y'all like praise kink, y'all are gonna like this book. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But here's the thing. So, I didn't even mention my bingo board. This is what my bingo board looked like by the end of the, readathon or whatever. Now, as you can see, I have almost a completely full blackout, except I had to put an X through Irish Mafia. And that's because for some reason I thought this book had something to do with the Irish Mafia. Like I thought Cage was. I don't know where I heard that or why I thought that. But this is another mafia, or this is another Russian mafia. Cage is with the Russian mafia. Yeah. So that's a little disappointing. I would have had a blackout if I had correctly chosen a different prompt, but it's fine. It's whatever. But yeah, I rated this book 4-star. Now, this is probably bad for me to do, but the reason why I rated it 4-star is because I was honestly comparing this book to Ruthless Stranger by Maggie Cole. They're not exactly the same at all, but there's some parallels in this book to each other. And so I kept thinking about that while reading. Maybe I made the mistake of reading these two books at the same time, but yeah. For one, both Russian mafia. Both of the heroines have nothing to do with the mafia, and they're having to get information out of the hero to determine, or not to determine, but to discover that they're Russian mafia. And yeah, I don't know. I rated Ruthless Stranger 4.5 stars. This one's 4 stars because the romance was really lust driven. I didn't understand why Cage was so attracted to Natalie, besides the fact that he finds her super beautiful. And so I was kind of oh, okay. But that's not something that necessarily turns me off in a book. But compared to when I was reading Ruthless Stranger, I felt like Maxim and what was her name? Maxim and Aspen had almost a soulmate connection, whereas Cage and Kat, they had more of a lust to love type relationship, which is fine. But that's just why I rated it slightly lower. Again, this book, super freaking steamy, super smutty, very, very good. I was actually I was listening to this on audio and then reading on my Kindle at the same time, and I kept going, oh, and then pausing it and telling my partner what was going on, and I'm sure he was just staring at me. But yeah, no, I did enjoy it. But yeah, it didn't have anything. I mean, there's Irish Mafia mentioned in this book, but the hero has nothing to do with it, so I couldn't count it for the prompt. This is another big book series, so I can't read the rest in that series too. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was still good, even though I rated it a 4. I mean, a 4 is still a high rating, y'all know, but yeah. But yeah, that's it. I had so much fun, and I'm glad that I'm starting to read more mafia romance. I love darker elements in romance books. I feel like whenever you have these dark elements, it typically makes the romance hit harder for me, because it's all of these obstacles that the characters are facing make their love more powerful, in my opinion, I guess. I guess that's how I would explain it. But yeah, that's what I read for the Mafia Romance Readathon. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm sorry I didn't get like a lot of like B-roll footage. I love filming vlogs, but also I have a really bad habit of putting off like actually filming, like sitting down and talking. So yeah, I really need to get better about that. But yeah, I'm gonna go. I have to leave soon to go visit my mom. I'm really excited. And yeah, if you want, you guys could leave me a skull emoji. That'd be cool. Or if you have any Mafia romance recommendations, I'd love to know them. Or if you read these books and what your opinions were, I'd like to know that as well. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna go. Bye-bye.